I saw my face on their website. There, between the words distinguished alumni and visionary leaders, was a photograph from my LinkedIn profile, cropped, polished, stripped of anything real. They used my name, my job title, even a quote from a blog post I barely remembered writing. I was being paraded like some kind of success story for St. Eustace Academy. The bile rose before the anger. It wasn't the first time they ignored what happened. But this was something else. They'd made me a trophy, a poster child for their lie, as if those years hadn't happened, as if the bruises, the locked closets, the twisted little rituals in the dorm showers were just shadows, not memories I still couldn't scrub clean. I stared at the screen, my fingers twitching over the mouse. The word contact glowed in the top corner of the page. I clicked it, drafted a message. You do not have permission to use my name or image. Remove me immediately. It was polite. Useless. I hit send, then stared, waiting for something. A reply, a glitch, a sign they'd been caught. But the page blinked and refreshed as if nothing had happened. I didn't sleep that night. I watched the cursor blink in an empty Word doc, the screen going dark every 10 minutes like it was trying to forget too. At 3:07 a.m., I found their press release. Federal grant awarded to top boarding institutions for excellence in leadership and values. And there was Headmaster Lowell, same smug face, now older. The man who told me, at 13, boys will be boys. Who laughed when I said I was afraid to sleep in my own bed. Who summoned my parents and accused me of exaggeration when I cried in the nurse's office, shaking, underwear bloody. I thought I had buried this, but they never stopped. I called the school the next morning, voice flat, pretending I was someone else. St. Eustace Academy, this is Camille speaking. Yes, hi. I noticed a misrepresentation on your website. I'd like to speak with whoever's responsible for alumni relations. One moment. The line clicked, held, clicked again. I imagined the office. Glass walls, brushed steel, new carpet. Nothing like the mold-stained dorms I remembered. When the voice came back, it was bright and brittle. Mr. Parkin is unavailable, but I can pass along your concern. Tell him, removing the photo won't be enough. Silence. Then, may I ask who's calling? But I'd already hung up. That night, I took the photo from their site and overlaid a caption. Ask me what happened in Dorm C, 1997. I made a Reddit account under a fake name, dropped the image in R-True off my chest, added 3 paragraphs of memory I never thought I'd write, and hit post. I didn't sleep. Again. But this time, I wasn't alone. By morning, there were 15 comments. By lunch, 42. By nightfall, someone else had posted, St. Eustace, 2001. Same thing. Thank you for speaking. And then another. And another. I wasn't ready for how fast it grew. By the end of the week, my inbox was full. Burner email, encrypted. The kind of messages you read with your jaw clenched. People I'd never met, different years, different dorms, different methods, but always the same ending. Silence, threats, transfer, or endure. Every story had its own shape, but they all fit together like jagged glass. I began to track them. Built a private spreadsheet, anonymized. I cataloged what dorm, what year, what staff were named. I didn't have a plan, not yet. Just a need to see the pattern, to prove I wasn't insane. Then, on day 12, I got a message from someone who signed only ML. He'd graduated in '94. He was a software engineer now in LA. He said, I built a scraper to archive the school's social pages before they take them down. You'll want it. Attached was a zip file. I ran it on an air-gapped laptop, half expecting it to explode. It didn't. Inside were hundreds of screenshots, promotional tweets, gala invites, donor emails, alumni newsletters, all with names, faces, quotes. St. Eustace had built a fortress of images, but now, piece by piece, I had a map. That night, I registered a domain, breakthehall.org. Plain white homepage. A single line. Some walls were built to trap you inside. Below that, a link. Submit your story. Verified. Anonymous. Protected. I coded the backend myself. Secure forms. Multi-factor submission validation. I borrowed some code from a nonprofit I once consulted for. They'd never know. I enlisted ML to help vet stories. We set rules. 3 separate corroborations per story before it went live. Screenshots or scans of yearbooks, dorm rosters, anything to prove attendance. And then I published mine. No name. Just class of 2000, dorm C, 3rd floor. I detailed one night in April, what was done to me, who was there, and how the school responded. I named the faculty. I uploaded a redacted copy of a nurse's report I had kept, buried in a shoebox in my parents' attic for 20 years. The next day, the site got over 2,000 unique visitors. Someone posted about it on Twitter, then on Medium. A trauma-informed teacher shared it on LinkedIn with a caption, "The private school system protects predators. This is the reckoning." Within 2 weeks, the Chicago Tribune reached out, then ProPublica, then finally, someone from the New York Times. They all wanted the same thing: confirmation, an interview, a name. I hesitated. It wasn't fear. It was clarity. This was bigger than me now. My story had already been multiplied, refracted. One voice had become dozens, then hundreds. But I was the match. I'd struck the spark. If they wanted truth, I would give it, on my terms. I created a press kit. No personal photo, just a silhouette and the same line I'd opened the site with. Some walls were built to trap you inside. And the schools started to panic. Letters from lawyers, cease and desists, whisper campaigns on alumni forums. But it was too late. I underestimated how brutal the backlash would be. The first real blow came not from the school, but from one of our own. A submission we'd verified, a detailed, harrowing account from 2002, was suddenly retracted. The poster claimed coercion, said we'd misrepresented their words, but I remembered the email, the chain of confirmation, the voice on the phone, trembling, thanking me. It didn't add up. Hours later, I received a direct message. "You don't understand what they can do. I have kids now. Please remove everything." I took it down, not because I believed their retraction, but because I knew fear when I saw it. I lived in it for years. After that, journalists began pulling away. Quietly. One major outlet that had been preparing a feature piece ghosted us completely. Then another. And then the worst. One of the most painful truths we'd published, about a faculty member who'd been promoted to a district superintendent, was challenged by a letter signed by 5 respected alumni, attesting to the man's moral fiber and lifelong dedication to education. 3 of the signatures were names I remembered from the locker room, from the late-night whispering in the dorm, from the breath on my neck. I smashed a glass that night. Not on purpose. I dropped it while opening the fridge, but I didn't bend down to clean it. I just stood there, barefoot, staring at the shards, thinking, this is what I've made. A story sharp enough to cut through everything, including me. The site's traffic dropped by almost 60% in a week. ML stopped replying. I checked his GitHub, no updates. His last message to me had been brief. They found my job. I'm out. Sorry. I sat in the dark. Not the dramatic kind, just the kind that happens when you forget to turn on the lights. I hadn't left my apartment in 2 days. My inbox was full of angry replies, parents of students currently at St. Eustace, furious that I was smearing a place that gave their child a future. One woman accused me of fabricating the entire project to extort elite institutions. Then the takedown notice came from the school's legal team. It wasn't a surprise, but the wording was cruel in its precision. Defamation, unsubstantiated, harmful to the well-being of students and staff. Harmful. I closed my laptop, pushed back from the desk, and slid to the floor. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, feeling the old thing again, that choking, thick helplessness. Like I was 13 again, locked in the supply closet by older boys who smiled as they twisted the latch shut, while just outside, a teacher walked by and pretended not to hear. I thought, maybe they win. Maybe they always win. I curled onto my side, slept there, on the floor, dreamed of cold tiles and flickering fluorescent lights and the smell of ammonia and copper. When I woke, I didn't move for a long time. Because the truth is, I broke. Right there. Alone, in my own apartment, after weeks of fighting ghosts that wore expensive suits and silk ties. I broke. Quietly. And no one came. The morning after I shattered, I didn't get up for revenge. I got up because I was hungry. There were eggs in the fridge, 3 days past expiration. I cooked them anyway, ate them cold, straight from the pan, standing in the same spot where the glass had broken. I'd swept it up at some point. I didn't remember doing it, just that it was gone. I didn't turn on my laptop until noon, and when I did, something had changed. Not in the inbox, not in the site analytics, in me. The fear wasn't gone, it had calcified, hardened into something else, not hate, not rage, precision. I didn't need to be loud anymore, I needed to be right. I shut the site down for maintenance, wiped the surface, but kept the database live. Then I opened a fresh file and started building again, this time, different. No anonymous blog posts, no emotional outpourings, just facts, dates, documentation, a structure that wouldn't flinch under scrutiny. And I brought in someone else. Her name was Adrienne Kemp, a former education reporter I'd met once at a tech conference years back. Smart, careful, the kind of woman who read source code like poetry and had a memory like a steel trap. I sent her a message, off record, real names, real risk, I need you. She replied in 6 minutes. Talk. I gave her access to the full archive, everything we had, timestamps, submissions, corroborations, documents. I told her to take it apart piece by piece and prove it was real. She did. And then some. Adrienne connected dots we hadn't seen, a former gym teacher who left mid-semester and resurfaced at a charter school in Nevada. A student from 1999 who died by suicide 3 years after graduating. His parents had settled a lawsuit and arbitration, sealed. She found the case number, pulled it from federal records, buried in the footnotes, institutional negligence. By March, we had enough. We built a new site, this one not anonymous, no stories, just data. EustaceFacts.org, clean government document style. Each claim backed by notarized statements, PDFs, a linkable chain of sources. Adrienne helped craft the introductory text. This is not testimony, this is record. We hosted it offshore, protected, hardened. Then Adrienne did what I couldn't. She went back to the press, not with pleas, with a dossier. And this time they listened. It wasn't front page stuff at first, but it was there, in Education Watch, in Nonprofit Accountability Journal. Pieces started appearing. Local radio picked it up. A national podcast devoted a full episode to St. Eustace's cultural blind spots. And then came the big one. PBS aired a segment. The visuals were haunting. Yearbook photos, blurred faces, courtroom sketches. They never named me. But the data spoke louder than I ever could. I watched it in the dark, alone. By the next morning, Break the Hall was back online, and it was different now, sharper, angrier. People came not to confess, but to confirm, hundreds of them. We weren't a whisper anymore. We were evidence. They tried to deny it at first. A lawyer representing the St. Eustace board issued a statement, full of the usual pretense, deep concern, allegations under review, a commitment to our students' well-being. But no one bought it anymore. Because now, for every polished press release, there were documents, real, legal, hard as concrete. Then came the grants. A watchdog nonprofit picked up our findings and filed a formal challenge to the Department of Education. Within days, the first freeze came through. A $3.8 million leadership grant paused, pending investigation. Then another, a cascade. We'd built our proof on numbers, and numbers are hard to spin. Faculty started leaving, quietly at first. Then the dean of students. Then the head of alumni relations. Each departure was unrelated, they said, a long-planned transition. But people were watching now. Every name that disappeared from the staff list was tracked, time-stamped, screenshotted. Then Lowell. I got the alert on a Tuesday morning from a journalist I didn't know. Hey, thought you'd want to see this attached was a local paper scan. Top of the fold. Longtime St. Eustace headmaster steps down amid allegations. No apology, no acknowledgement, just retirement. The same way they always left us, without a word. That afternoon, Adrian called me. You did it, she said. No, I answered. We did. There was only one thing left. My name. I thought about it for days, what it would mean, what it would cost. I wasn't afraid anymore, just aware. Once I stepped out, there was no way back into silence. But silence was their tool, not mine. So I wrote the final post. No pseudonym, no initials. My name is Luke Hart. I am class of 2000, St. Eustace Academy. I am one of hundreds. I hit publish. The final line read, "They wanted silence. I chose the truth."